Hi, I'm Alan, and I love animation. And I don't mean love as in I pop in a DVD of Snow White every once in a while. No, I really love animation. I kind of have an obsession. If you look at my Netflix queue, a lot of it is cartoons. If you look at my DVD collection, a lot of it is cartoons. I don't know where this obsession started, but it's gotten bigger over the years. Now, if you're an animation lover such as myself, you love Walt Disney. He devoted his life to making cartoons and spreading joy and happiness throughout the world. Disney would even become the driving force behind some of my favorite movies. Beauty and the Beast, Lilo and Stitch, and never mind, not that one. Disney became the mastermind behind many timeless characters. These include such favorites as Donald Duck, Goofy, Minnie, Pluto, and that other guy. But we'll talk about him later. One character that many people seem to completely forget altogether, however, is Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. His very first one. That's right, his first character. And no one knows who he is. All animators have to start somewhere, and Disney was no exception. He got to start working on a series called the Alice Comedies, a series of shorts that included real-life actors interacting with cartoon characters. It was soon after Disney's contract was up that he began working on his very first character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Oswald was created by Disney in 1927 and ran for 26 shorts under Disney's control. At this point, Disney was far from the established animator he grew to be, and was still looking for his big break. Disney, along with his chief animator, Ub Iwerks, signed a contract to create a new series of shorts with Universal Studios. But before they could do that, they needed to create the new character. Walt's distributor insisted that he couldn't create a cat. Cats were overdone at the time with big names such as Felix and Crazy Cat, so Disney came back with his rabbit design, and as legend tells, the name Oswald was actually chosen out of a hat by Universal executives. I wonder what that looked like.
Fellow executives, we picked Oswald.
Brilliant. The first short Disney developed with the character, Poor Papa, wasn't very well received by Universal executives, prompting a complete overhaul of the character. Disney made Oswald a more youthful and adventurous character, and best of all, he was a hit. As I stated earlier, Disney went on to create 26 shorts using the character, and if it wasn't for one man, Oswald might have never have faded into obscurity. That man's name was Charles Mintz. Charles Mintz was a film producer who actually convinced Disney to sign under him and create Oswald. At the end of his contract, Disney attempted to convince Mintz for a pay raise. Unfortunately, times were tough and Mintz wanted Disney to accept a pay cut. The rest, of course, is history. Disney left Universal with his key animator Iwerks and went on to create the most iconic cartoon character of all time, Mickey Mouse.
I was in New York at the time. I'd been producing a series of pictures for a company there. They were about a rabbit called Oswald. But I lost that. They took it away from me, so I was all alone and had nothing. And Mrs. Disney and I were coming back from New York on the train, and I had to have something. I said, by the time I get to Hollywood, I must have something to, I can't tell them I've lost Oswald. So I had this mouse in the back of my head, because a mouse is a sort of a sympathetic character, in spite of the fact that everybody's frightened of a mouse, including myself.
Mickey Mouse was not an immediate success. In fact, much like Oswald, his first cartoon, Plain Crazy, was rejected and failed to find a distributor. Disney then began to experiment with sound and released what is perhaps Mickey's most well-known short to this day, Steamboat Willie. The film fascinated audiences, being the first cartoon to feature synchronized sound. Mickey was a hit, and still holds significant prominence in the world of all things Disney. So it's pretty obvious that Mickey had fully eclipsed Oswald in popularity, and you may be thinking Oswald was kaput after Disney left. But you would be wrong. While Mickey shot to cartoon superstardom and infamy, Oswald continued on under the control of Charles Mintz, who went on to open up his own studio made up of mostly former Disney employees. After Mintz's turn at pulling the strings, Universal elected to put someone new in charge and chose a young man by the name of Walter Lantz. For over a decade, Lantz was in charge of developing new Oswald shorts and was actually in contact with Disney throughout his involvement, gaining Disney's approval. After producing 142 Oswald shorts, Lantz decided to call it quits on the character, and went on to create Woody Woodpecker, his most famous one.
Get through!
But we're not here to talk about that. Back to Oswald. Oswald changed in appearance drastically throughout the years, and hardly retained any resemblance to the original look Disney intended for the character. After Oswald's time on the big screen, he mostly faded into obscurity, and became a comic book character, again with a drastic redesign. For many years, Oswald had become long forgotten. That was until the Disney Corporation regained control of the character after nearly 80 years, thanks to what is now known as the Al Michaels trade. Al Michaels was contracted to announce on the Disney-owned network ABC, and was looking to reunite with his former co-host John Madden. CEO Bob Iger made it his goal to once again obtain the rights for the character and bring it out of obscurity. Disney executives made a deal with NBC that essentially traded the rights of the Oswald character back to Disney. In return, NBC received Al Michaels. That's right, Al Michaels was traded for a cartoon rabbit. Disney put into action work on a video game that would heavily feature the Oswald character, way before they even obtained the rights to use him. In 2010, the video game Epic Mickey was released, heavily featuring both Oswald and Mickey together for the first time in history. In the game, Mickey is transported to a world known as the Wasteland that is eerily similar to Disney World. In this world, Oswald reigns as king and takes in other forgotten cartoons such as himself. The game was a success and brought Oswald into a new generation. In fact, the game was received well enough to even garner a sequel featuring Oswald as a playable character for the first time ever. I'll admit, I knew about the character before the game came out, and was pretty excited about the concept. I thought it would bring the character back into public eye, but unfortunately, that was not the case. Nowadays, Oswald is still a somewhat obscure character, but is slowly gaining back his rightly deserved recognition. It's fairly obvious to anyone who is aware of the character that Oswald heavily influenced Mickey's design, and nowadays they are considered brothers. Oswald starred in a graphic novel depicting the world of Epic Mickey before the events of the game. He's also begun showing up in various Disney parks, and even made his way into a recent Mickey short as a cameo role. Although Oswald is often forgotten, there is no doubt in my mind that he should be considered among some of history's greatest cartoon characters. Without Oswald, there would be no Walt Disney. Oswald gave Disney the drive to succeed and create an animation empire. It isn't certain at this point what Disney will end up doing with the character, but we can only hope that we continue to see more of him in the future.